Howdy folks, how's everybody doing today? It is so good to see you all. My name is VooDoo Val and I am going to be your host for this morning's Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. I'm super excited about today because if you are, kind of missing the summer season, we're gonna kind of jump back into vacation mode today and do some pretty cool photo compositing and editing for some vacation photos. We're gonna get a little silly with it. We're gonna get a little crazy with it. I've been having a lot of fun playing around with some of the generative features within Photoshop now, and I'm very excited to experiment with you guys. I see Cody Bear in the chat. Cody, thank you so much for joining us. I also see Suzanne and Tim and Marsha and Robert. Daniel has jumped in and joined us. Jennifer, Liz, Frank, it is good to see all of you folks. Thank you so much for popping in to the chat. But yeah, let's kind of dive into it for today, shall we? You like my glasses? Thank you. Thank you. I've been enjoying them. Carol, welcome in. All right, so if you would like to join the Photoshop challenge with me this morning or afternoon or evening, time appropriate salutations wherever you're at. Just check out the description below. There is a link there to a starter file which has some links to the free section of Adobe stock where you can use some of the photos that I will be using today. So I'm going to pop over and show you what that looks like. It looks a little something like this. It says transform your vacation photos into post-worthy Instagram reels with animation effects and composition in Photoshop. Use generative features to experiment with new photo elements to add to your images. So I've got a couple of vacation photo links there for you, and what we're going to do is we're going to transform them a little bit and then see if we can't jump into a little bit of Express and kind of make them super cool reels or animated posts for your social media. Biola, welcome in. It's good to see you. You as well. Z, welcome in. All right, let's oh, Vicus over on the YouTube channel. Welcome in, Vicus. All right, let's kind of jump into it. So these links will link you to these images. We've got this fun guy who is not on vacation, but we're gonna make him on vacation. And then we've got this super cute photo of this gal who is on vacation, but we're gonna kind of put her in a different place. And I think we're actually gonna start with her. So as you can see, I do have the toolbar, the contextual toolbar up today, and a couple of notes about the contextual toolbar. So if you folks are kind of jumping into a lot of these new awesome updates and features and things we've got going on in Photoshop now, the contextual toolbar might feel a little awkward for you. This is something that I've heard, but it really just takes a little bit of time to figure out where you want to put it and how you want to use it. And I have found personally that it's become a huge helping hand in my daily Photoshop process. So if you do not see the contextual toolbar when you open your Photoshop, or perhaps you've toggled it off, you can retoggle it on by just going to the window here, and if you scroll all the way down, you can see there's options, tools, and contextual taskbar. I think I said toolbar. Contextual taskbar. And what I like to do personally as I set up my workspace within Photoshop with the contextual taskbar is I like to come over and place it wherever I want it, which typically I like to put it right up here so it kind of melds with the rest of my my workspace here, and I will click this little menu here and say pin taskbar position. And the reason why I like to do that is because I do want it to stay where I put it. I don't want it to move around. I want it to be helpful to me, but I also want to keep it where I put it so that it's not jumping over top of my piece. And the first thing we're going to do here today is we are actually going to put our gal here in kind of a different area. Now, she does have a cool kind of scene behind her. It looks like she's on a beach. It looks like she has kind of the rocky hillside around that beach behind her, but I do want to make the background a little bit more exciting. So what I'm going to do is come over to my selection tools. You could do object selection if you think that that is going to work well for your project. Basically, if you select the object selection tool by pressing W, and if you press W on your keyboard and you don't select the object selection tool, you probably just need to right click it like so to open this drop down menu and select it, because perhaps you've just used most recently the magic wand or the quick selection tool. But with the object selection tool, you can hover over various elements within the scene and it'll highlight and say to you with a visual context, do you mean this? Basically, which is very, very helpful. So I can just tap wherever she's at, and I can, if Photoshop does a tiny bit of thinking here, it will select her for me, which is actually pretty darn good looking, if you ask me. If I zoom in here real quick, you can see it's got a nice selection around the tip of her hair there. It's got a nice selection around her fingers and the top of her hat, even though the top of that hat really is quite a bright color compared to the background here. And this is one of the things in Photoshop that I think has improved so tremendously over the past few updates. It's really become a massive favorite of mine. So you could do object selection tool. You can also do a subject select as well. So if you have a photo that has a clear, obvious subject, then you could, let me go ahead and Control Z. You can come up here and hit select subject, and it will do basically the same thing. And I think that there's a lot of different ways that you could go about utilizing these two selection tools. It really depends on the photo you're using. This one, you know, with this, you know, because this is a pretty light color, it wasn't as perfect around here. But another thing you can do, if you do the select subject or the object selection and it's not exactly the way you want it, with object selection on, you can actually hold Alt or hold Shift, and you can see that it changes that little plus and minus button, adds a little minus if I hold Alt, and adds a little minus if I hold Shift to add to the selection. And I can drag a little box out here, and it does not only add, you know, that selection area, but because I'm on the object selection tool, it will select what it believes is an object within the marquee box that I drag out, which will help me clean up my my image a little bit more. And I wonder, this is kind of specific, but with this little area right here, I wonder if I could subtract there and have it, yeah, kind of go down more towards the shirt there, which is perfect for me. Kieran Norris, welcome in. It is good to see you. General Kenobi, hello there. My shirt shrunk. That's what water does. It shrinks things. Carol, oh my god, I hate when that happened. Yeah, you know, it happens. Those shrink. Yes, indeed. Is there a rosy glow now? Kind of a pinkish hue. It'll kind of show and designate what it's thinking about being a selection. Pork Chop, welcome in. I love the name. Oliver Andrews, hello. It's good to see ya. And I also see Gala over on the YouTube channel. Welcome in, friend. Good. Yes, indeed, Kenobi. All right, so let's go ahead and use some generative features to kind of add her to a different scene, shall we? So I'm going to unlock this. And with this selected, I am going to right click and I'm going to say select inverse. Now, if you right click and try to do a select inverse and you don't see that option, it probably means that you no longer have a selection tool in activation. So go ahead and select any selection tool. And as long as you're on one of those, when you right click a current selection, you will be able to invert it. And with that, we are just going to come over to generative fill. So our taskbar asks us, well, you have something selected. Do you want to use generative fill? Yes, I do indeed. So I'm going to come over here, and something that we can do is we can leave it blank. And that will just kind of generate either whatever it wants, or it'll generate to remove whatever is selected. But we do actually want to type a prompt in here. So with that highlighted, I'm going to say a sandy beach scene. Boom. And let's see what it gives us. We'll let it think a little bit, give it a little bit of time. Susan Holt and Susan Wilson. Oh no, we got a Highlander situation going on here. Welcome in. Welcome in to both of you. Thank you so much for joining me. Carol. Calm down, Carol. Awesome, cool. So we've got this nice scene of a sandy beach back behind us now. And what I'm gonna do is kind of flip through these and see what we've really got going on. And honestly, I kind of like this one because it has a little bit more of like a city, something that's a little more discernible than the rocks and things that were in the back. This one is not so bad, but you know, the water is like really bright and kind of blown out. It would be nice maybe if we could, you know, make it a little bit more blue, but I'm hesitant to do that only because notice that not only did we generate ourselves an extra scene back there, but Generative Fill also took into consideration the context of the lighting of my subject, which I was selected around. So it has given us a scene that matches a lot of the colors and a lot of the lighting situation that's already going on, making it look very natural and very realistic. So I might actually want to keep it as much as we can, to be perfectly honest. It would be nice if maybe I could add a little bit more water, but I think maybe I'll leave it like so. We could also try to do this because I do already have a generation going here. I could just change my prompt because my prompt is here. And this is something I want to call attention to if you are using Generative Fill often or you are new to Generative Fill. This prompt area here, when I look at the generations I've already done, for me personally, this serves as a place where I can come and see what prompts I've used in the past for certain portions of my project. So if I type something in and I think, well, you know, that actually really worked really well, then I can always come back and kind of see what I've got going on. But I can also see what doesn't work for my project, and I can also come in and change things. So we've got our sandy beach scene, and I want to add to this. So we'll say a sandy beach scene with, let's say, ocean water in the distance. With ocean water in the distance. Let's see if that works. The sea wasn't angry that day, my friends. I wanted to be a marine biologist. That was one of the things that I wanted to be as well. It turns out I am much better at drawing animals than studying them. So I ended up here. Hello. All right. This actually is pretty darn good. I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of shrink this in so I can take a closer peek at this, and I might actually press F on my keyboard to enter into the second view of Photoshop so that I can really toggle this around. So this adds, you know, it still matches our gal pretty great here, but it does add a lot more intrigue and beauty in the background. We can kind of flip around. Let's see what else we get. Honestly, that first one might be the winner. This one is nice, but I feel like this one doesn't fit with what I'm doing as well. Like, I feel like it does look a teeny tiny bit out of place, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. So I'm going to use this one because this one feels natural and normal to me. I feel like it really plays on where the light is hitting her, and the colors and composition really match, and it adds enough contrast between the foreground and background elements so as to seem really great. So we're gonna go with this. Art is much safer, yes. Always wanted to pretend to be an architect. Well, with Generative Fill, you can. You can pop yourself into Photoshop and add yourself into a scene being an architect, if you like. All right, so we've got this going on, and the other thing that I want to do is we're going to make this into a Instagram post. So I am going to also use Generative Expand and make a nice square image out of this. So I'm just going to hit C on my keyboard to access my my crop tool, and I'm just going to crop this right up to about there. And go ahead and hit generate. And we not notice when I generated this time, I did not actually, something went wrong. Please try again. Oh please, Photoshop. Let's try that one more time. Notice I did not actually add any you know what I'm gonna do? Sorry, hold on one thing. I am going to, because I'm curious, I want to see what happens if I convert all of this to a smart object. We might do a little bit of testing around here on the stream. But notice as I do this, I'll come back to my crop. I'm not going to type anything into the field And we can try after this if it doesn't give us exactly what we want. But I kind of just want it to think on its own, like, what do you think belongs here? I'm hoping that it will extend the sky a little bit and make this like a nice square photograph for Instagram, which it did, which this is perfect. And I can come through here and kind of change through all of the different options it gives me, and I think I do like this first one. It feels very natural, very normal, and I think that this is pretty darn lovely. So we're gonna go ahead and go with this image. This is gonna be our image for the for one of our posts. And then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get a little bit silly. This one was a little bit more serious, but now we are gonna go kind of hog wild before we jump into Express. And I'm gonna need your help for that, folks. I'm gonna need you to start shouting out some things in the chat. I see that Miss Melanie is in the chat over in YouTube, and I know that Miss Melanie likes to call out cool ideas and stuff. So thank you for joining us, Miss Melanie, and if anybody else would like to join in, definitely let me know. Look at fingers. Grover, you know what? You were absolutely right. It did give us a little strange artifact here, didn't it? Maybe we will alter that just real quick. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit L on my keyboard and we will lasso this. And I wonder if I just hit Generative Fill and generate that away, if it'll clean it up for us. I wonder what it'll put there. I've never actually tried to use Generative Fill on such a small portion of a piece before. All right, it's not really knowing what to do. So maybe we will just use our stamp tool. And the stamp tool is spot healing. No, patch tool. Patch tool. If you hit J on your keyboard, you can access the patch tool. And if you hit J on your keyboard and access one of these other ones, just go ahead and right click over here to open this drop down window. And with that selected, I can just drag this up. And I do have to rasterize it because it won't do it on a smart object. So I can just drag this up to someplace else I want it to kind of copy from, and it will do this. And notice if you use the patch tool, it gives you like a strange little ring because it's blended it. I think what we can do actually here is kind of alter the way that we're doing it. That one's going to be a little bit more of a bleed. So let's keep it on this and see actually what that gives us. It's not so bad. I might come in and clean it up just a little bit more, but for now we won't worry about it because we are on a time constraint. But thank you for catching that, Grover. I appreciate it. All right, so let's come back. I'm going to hit F on my keyboard so I can kind of jump back into my other view of Photoshop here. We'll go ahead and I'm just going to save this as image 1 for when we come back to this. Let me come over here. Image 1. All right, there we go. And then let's come over here to our guy here. Now I really like him. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come over and do like a subject select just to select him. He looks like he really wants to be on vacation, but he's not on vacation, so we are going to put him on vacation. Of course, we're gonna put him in the ocean, but I'm gonna need to know from you guys what kind of ocean as I come in here. Let's go ahead and select inverse and let's go to generative fill. I'm gonna say beautiful ocean waves. Let me know in the chat if you folks would like me to add anything else. Generative Fill that gives results like Firefly. Generative Fill gives results in a different way, I feel, because I use Firefly and I use Generative Fill often, and with Firefly, you need to add a prompt. You need to give it something to work from, but with Generative Fill in Photoshop, it kind of reads whatever you are starting from and kind of makes up its mind on its own, but also kind of with whatever prompt you add to it, and also taking into consideration the context of what's already on the canvas, which makes it a little bit more versatile for the kind of work I do personally. But let's peek around. Honestly, I don't mind this. I think he's looking great. I think he's having a good old time, honestly, in this photo. And he's definitely going to need a shirt. We're going to put a shirt on him. So what I'm going to do is press L on my keyboard to come in here with my lasso. And I am just going to select around him in a way that I feel like is kind of like a tank top. We're going to give him a tank top. We're going to make him a little more covered up here, which I think is what he needs. We don't want him to get a sunburn, all that stuff. Wear sunscreen, folks. So let's go ahead. Now normally when it comes to using this, I wouldn't do such a specific selection for a tank top, but I really want it to adhere to his shape. I don't want it to change his anatomy at all. So I'm going to come into generative fill here, and I'm going to say add maybe it does look like Tony Armour. I'm going to say, let's say, add a striped tank top. Let's see what it gives us. Let's see how lucky we get. I thought this was David Letterman. The ocean is angry, my friends. Yes, indeed. Fishy ocean, indeed. I don't know if I really wanted these kinds of tank tops, but why not? You know, maybe this is his favorite sort of thing. I don't know. I think that he should be free to wear whatever makes him happy. So let's go ahead and do this, and then let's do a little bit of generative expand as well. It's a crop top. Yeah, that's what it is. Let's go ahead and just extend this upward, and we'll make this a little bit longer because I think that is quite nice. And we'll just say generate, and hopefully it will give us like maybe an ocean that extends up into a sky. General Kenobi says, let it be. Indeed, I agree, sir. Holding a shark, Gala, that's a great idea. Like, he just went fishing for it by hand. A whale, a swordfish, maybe. What are you gonna give us? Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm kind of into it. Let's see what we got over here. Let's do this, and then just for Gala, let's put let's see what happens. I don't know, man. Holding fish out of water. This could get weird. This could get very, very weird, and I accept no responsibility for whatever pops up here to us. Also, I think we only have a few minutes left, so we are going to jump over into Adobe Express for just a moment after this. But we'll get there in a second. Let's see what this gives us. I don't know if this is exactly how we wanted it. That's terrifying. Sometimes it is a little terrifying. Honestly, maybe he's throwing it. He's lost fingers in this one, which is why I do try to be a little careful with, you know, making it, not giving it enough context when I'm trying to generate human anatomy. This is hilarious though, so maybe we could do a little bit more tweaking. I would perhaps actually maybe select around his fingers so that his hands stay in place, and then have him like throwing a fish up. But that is pretty funny. And what you can do here now is, or what I would do is, I would maybe snag all of these layers and I would convert them to a smart object. Convert to smart object so it's not a generative layer, and if you wanted to, you could add maybe some text and all that good stuff, and you can open it directly in Adobe Express, which, how long do we have here? We've got like a minute or so, and I am actually attempting to upload our other file. There we go. Boom. So we can open our other file, which we worked on first there in Adobe Express, and if it will load and give us a little time here, we could add some text to it. There we go, there we go. Boom, we've got it. And so what we can do here is we can add a little bit of text to our image. We can come in here and say add your text. We can say vacay holiday. And we can throw that right up here, and then we can add a little bit of animation to it. Now I'm coming to pretty much the very end here, but let's grab like kind of a cool, let's do another font. something that's a little more bold, and then we can do some text effects, or not text effects, we'll do some animation effects, and we can have this kind of rise up, and then we can have it blink, and then we can have it dropped down, which is pretty fun. So you can see how you can jump in here, make some stuff in Photoshop, and then start to do a little bit of animation as far as creating a pretty cool Instagram reel or post after the fact. That is all the time I have for you folks today. I do have to take off, but thank you so much for joining me. I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning for challenge number 2, which is going to be more fun with generative features, so I will see you then. Adios, folks!